Hello again. I have a good deal of sympathy for those refugees driven from their homes by violence, but do not see why a strategy for helping them should work to the disadvantage of British people on NHS waiting lists for medical treatment. As a result of the COVID pandemic, waiting lists for everything from routine operations to scans looking for cancer have grown to their longest in years. Patients in Britain are dying for lack of prompt treatment. This is scandalous. Meanwhile, the government has been importing Afghan refugees and intend to scour the countries neighbouring Afghanistan with a view to bringing thousands of them to Britain, not because they have worked for the British Army or anything of that sort, but if they can prove that they need urgent medical treatment or are survivors of torture or war. Two things strike one immediately about this. The first is that this will end up with various people who are enemies of Britain being allowed to enter the country and make their home here. The second is that this can be stated very simply in plain language as follows. The NHS currently has enormously long waiting lists for hospital appointments, and now the British government has deliberately embarked upon a course of action which will increase the size of those waiting lists by recruiting ill people in Uzbekistan who will be flown to Britain and allowed to go to the head of the queue for medical treatment. Of course, if the scheme had been announced in those terms, I suspect there would have been an uproar in Britain. So it has been disguised by waffling on about the similarity of the plan to the Vulnerable People Relocation Scheme, which brought 20,000 Syrians to this country. Anybody who has an elderly relative waiting for a hip replacement or cancer screening might raise their eyebrows at these plans. When I suggested the other day that all these Afghan immigrants would make it necessary for local authorities to build more houses to accommodate them, several people emailed me to say that this was alarmist nonsense. However, I provide a link in the description to this video to a newspaper article yesterday which says that this is precisely what will be happening. The problem is that Afghan families tend to be larger than those in Britain, and so they will need larger houses. The average size is 7 members to a family, and one family apparently has 12 members. The existing properties which local authorities have are too small for such people, and so they're trying to acquire or build bigger houses so that they can make some room for more foreigners. I hesitate to point out that my wife and I intentionally limited our family to such a size that we would be able to house, clothe and feed our children and give them a good start in life. If we had chosen to have 8 or 10 children, I don't see that any foreign country would have had a duty to build a big house for us. This sounds nuts, put like that. This then is the situation. At least 20,000 people who have not paid a penny in national insurance contributions or council tax are to be given big houses and preference in healthcare in Britain. Anybody who does not find this very odd must have quite a different view of the world from my own.